Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. So, guys, did you know that the U.S. military once tested biological warfare on the whole of San Francisco? Yeah, it's true. It is true. And there's a lot more than that. It does sound like a prime conspiracy theory, especially if you type it into Google. That's a whole lot of what you'll find. And you'll see it coming up, too. If you're talking about the word chemtrails, you'll see it's contrails, that pops up on your little wiki thing, trying to dissuade you from thinking there is any such thing as chemtrails. But there are. We know that, and we're not idiots. How many times do we have to be tested on before, we realize the bigger picture? So, this sounds crazy. But crazy is what's happened to not only the American public, but UK as well. So, for a period of the last 20 years, the U.S. Army carried out simulated open-air biological warfare attacks on their own cities. And this comes out of IFL Science, and it's well-researched. All the links are right here, which are going to lead you to more and more stuff that's going to feel like, I just can't believe this. What's going on with this world? Is this the world that I grew up in? Is this really what's been going on this whole time? So in the wake of World War II, the United States military was suddenly worried about and keen to test out the threats posed by biological warfare. Now remember Operation Paperclip. So many of the sharpest Nazi brains were taken into this country and put into positions of high level clearance and went on experimenting and doing what they were doing before, pretty much, in a new place. So they started experiments looking into how bacteria and harmful toxins might spread, only using harmless stand-in microbes, or at least that's what they thought, and perhaps not even what they thought, but at least that's what it was in writing. They tested these on military bases, infecting soldiers and their families who live with them. Eventually, stepped up things a notch. Disclosed in 1977, turns out the U.S. military carried out 239 secret open-air tests on its own citizens. And that's what they are telling us. So, you could times that by 10, you could times that by 100, you might be able to times that by 1,000, maybe even more. So in one of its largest experiments, called Operation Sea Spray, the military used giant hoses to spray a bacterial cloud of Serratia marsans and Bacillus globigi, both thought to be harmless bacteria at that time, from a Navy ship docked off the coast of San Francisco. They wanted to investigate how the city's iconic fog might help with the spread of bacterial warfare. And spread it did. It's estimated that all of the city's 800,000 residents at that time inhaled millions of the bacteria. Over the next few weeks, as they went about their daily lives, none the wiser. That's your taxpayer dollars in working for you? Is that really your taxpayer dollars working for you? So you're spending your tax money in order to get infected with bacteria and to be experimented on. So at that time, it seemed like a good proxy for a deadly bacterial attack, like one using anthrax. Living in the soil, this particular bacteria produces a bright, handy blood red pigment, a property often exploited in microbiology as a biological marker, allowing scientists to track its transmission in various situations. Perfect then, it would seem, to track a simulated biological warfare attack, except now we know that it's not the benign bacterium we once thought it was. Or did they know the whole time? So the military experiments are now known to have caused the death of at least one person, Edward J. Nevin, and the hospitalization of 10 others, all of whom suffered urinary tract infections. It's now known that it can cause infections, especially in the urinary and respiratory tract. In fact, it's been suggested that the increase in cases of pneumonia in San Francisco following Operation Sea Spray could have been the result of that bacterial cloud, as Sassy is just shouting in her indignation. So the experiments didn't stop there. As stated, the military carried out over 200 such tests across the country from New York to D.C., spraying bacteria and other fluorescent and microscopic particles into the air, one of which, zinc cadmium sulfide, is now thought to cause cancer. In another series of experiments, they went so far as simulating an attack on Washington's Greyhound bus station and airport. And the tests weren't limited to American shores either. In conjunction with the Ministry of Defense scientists, as well as part of the DICE trials, it was also sprayed along with anthrax stimulant and phenol from a ship off the coast of Dorset in southern England, and its spread tracked. This is also just one of over 100 such experiments carried out over the UK by the British military, which is known to have sprayed zinc cadmium sulfide across large parts of the country as well. So, this is huge, guys. This is huge. Huge. And this is talking about that such case. Millions were in germ warfare tests. Much of Britain was exposed to this bacteria in secret trials without the public being let known. So you over in the UK, you should be upset with this. Us over here in the US, we should be upset with this. As we've said, this is the continuation of the government, quote unquote, the system that's been in effect since Sumerian times, which has morphed into being as the Roman Empire and then the British Empire and now the American Empire. It's all part of the same control grid. And here we have Clinton apologizes for radiation tests, experiments, and the cabinet will study compensation for some victims and their families. About 4,000 secret studies through 1974 were disclosed. 4,000. Folks, they're experimenting every single day. Is there any wonder why the skies look like this? Is there any wonder? Experiments continue, and they continue en masse, and they have increased. So, the Clinton government, goes ahead and says we have a moral responsibility to admit it. The duty we owe to one another, tell the truth, protect our fellow citizens from excesses like these, is one where we can never walk away from. Yet, and he goes on saying the government failed in that duty, and he apologized to all the American people who must be able to rely upon the United States to keep its word, to tell the truth and do the right thing. And yet this has increased tenfold, 100-fold since the Clinton administration. Back in those days, you might think you spy a chemtrail. Now you wonder, is there any real clouds in the sky? And over here we see human experimentation case studies. And I'll have all these links for you guys. There's thousands of cases. Atomic veterans, 1946 to 1962. From 46 to 62, the United States conducted about 200 atmospheric nuclear tests, more than all the other nuclear states put together at that time. Approximately 400,000 servicemen in the U.S. and their families in the area, too, were witness to the tests and were exposed. And so many people got cancer. And, this is not just, investigating that, but also cases of people being injected with plutonium without their consent. Injected with plutonium. Have you been in the service? Do you know that barrage of injections you get? Well, maybe. Who knows? People were injected with plutonium, and they did not consent, as we see here as well. And is it any wonder, Operation Paperclip, all the Nazis that were taken into this country. And so, these next ones are all out of the Wikipedia, which we know is not perfect, but there's links you could follow. Unethical human experimentation in the United States, all over the place. It goes on and on and on. The CIA knows about this. The government knows about this. They are condoning it. They're using our own tax money to basically experiment on us. This is the wiki on Operation Sea Spray that we were talking about. And then we have Operation Mayday. This involved a series of EW tests from April and November 1956. They were designed to reveal information about the dispersal of yellow fever mosquitoes in an urban area. The mosquitoes were released from ground level in Savannah, Georgia, one of my favorite places, and then recovered using traps baited with dry ice. And so, we wonder about things when all of a sudden we see clusters of, yellow fever cases, West Nile cases. We see Powassan's disease and obviously Lyme's disease. Operation Dropkick. And so this is 1956, U.S. Army Chemical Corps conducted Operation Dropkick to test the practicality of employing mosquitoes to carry an entomological warfare agent in different ways. And this is Savannah, Georgia. And we have Operation Big Itch. Again, same thing, looking for a new vector, so use fleas. And this goes on and on and on. On and on and on, guys. This is crazy. This is crazy. The fleas were loaded into two types of munitions and dropped from the air, the E-14 bomb and the E-23 bomb, which could be clustered into the E-86 cluster bomb and E-77 bomb, respectively. When the cluster bombs reached 2,000 or 1,000 feet, the bomblets would drop via parachute, disseminating their vector. And so the E-14 was designed to hold 100,000 fleas, the E-23 about 200,000. The E-23 failed in over half of the preliminary Big Itch tests. The E-23's malfunctioned during testing, and fleas were released into the aircraft where they bit the pilot, bombardier, and observer. As a result, the remaining Big Itch tests were conducted using only the smaller capacity E-14. Guinea pigs were used as test subjects and placed around a 660-yard circular grid. And so, Big Itch proved successful. But the test showed that not only could the fleas survive the drop from an airplane, but they also soon attached themselves to hosts. And so you got to wonder what else is going on here. We only know this. This is just scratching the surface. Just scratching the surface for Operation Big Itch. That's funny. Actually, it's not funny. It's really sad that this goes on. And it's still going on to this day. Do you guys have any doubts about that? If you do, just look up to the skies. As always, thank you for your support on Patreon and Ko-Fi. That's how we're kept going, as all these videos get demonetized. So we're not doing this for money. We're doing this to wake up the public so people understand what's going on over our heads every single day. And we have to change this system. We have to demand all these experimentations on U.S. and U.K. and other citizenry as well stops. Things should not be done without the public's permission, using the public's dollars, which is the public's time and lives. So you're spending the time of your life, you're working a certain amount of time in order to pay to be experimented on. Is that what this country was based on? I don't think so. As always, my friends, like, share, subscribe. God bless, and namaste.